Welcome to The Unspoken Truth. I'm your host, Rob Russ.
And live from Minnesota, I'm Ed Anderson.
G'day, Ed. How you doing today, mate?
Living the dream, Robbie. Thanks for asking. How you doing down there?
I'm really good, man. I'm excited. We're going to try out a new format here for the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, if this is your first time here, welcome. It's great to have you here. And if you're back for more, welcome back. And thanks for your ongoing support. Today, we're going to be talking about the new monetary system. Ed and I always like to talk about CBDCs, what's happening, and we're going to talk about why you need to pay attention to this, some of the terms that you're going to need to learn about. And this is useful because you don't want to be caught unawares with any of this stuff. And this is going to change your life as you know it. This is an exciting time in history. I'm not sure if this is exciting, but it's an exciting time to be alive with all of these changes and a change to the financial system and the world as we know it. Let's get started. All right, Ed. Tell us a little bit about what you got for us today, mate. I'm excited to hear more about this because the new monetary system. What are you talking about, man? Fiat system, something new, gold? What is it?
Yeah, well, okay. So this is actually not an exciting topic for me. It's a necessary topic, I would call it. These are not exciting times, but historically speaking, these are very important times. You know, there are points in history that kind of changes the trajectory of people's lives, and we're going through one of those right now. We're going through a very important transition from the traditional monetary system into this upcoming new monetary system, which is dystopian. I'm not going to say, in my opinion, it flat out is dystopian. It's troubling, but people really need to know about this ahead of time so they can be prepared.
Awesome. Well, you've got a little presentation for us, so why don't we take a look at that?
Hello, welcome back. Okay, so let's talk about this new monetary system that they have planned for us. Welcome to the Matrix.
I got a bad feeling about this.
All right, so if you don't mind, could you smash that like button for me? Now, we have talked an awful lot about these central bank digital currencies, also known as CBDCs, that are being rolled out by countries around the world. But there are a few aspects of this that I have not really covered yet that you really have to know about. For example, there is some terminology that we have not covered yet that's going to be central to all of our lives. For example, terms like the unified ledger and the unified register and tokenomics. You probably have no idea what these terms mean right now, but I promise you, everyone's going to be expert in these terms before too long. Now, this new monetary system that they have planned for us is a system that pretty much everyone is going to just want to adopt because it's going to be convenient. And for those who do not want to enter into the matrix, they will have ways to force you into it. There will be no escaping the matrix. Pretty much every central bank in the world has their own advanced plan for their own central bank digital currency. And the more that you look at the implications of this, the more evil it becomes. In this video, we're going to talk about the dystopian nature of this new monetary system that we are all going to be a part of. So as I sit here, 130 countries have announced their development of their own CBDCs. And that list of countries represents over 98% of the world's population. So this whole process is already well underway. And the existing CBDCs already cover over 200 different types of scenarios, everything from online purchases to government stimulus payments to tax receipts. And this is coming to all of us. There is no escaping it unless we do something fast. Now, the idea of these central bank digital currencies is pushed at every level: local, federal, national, and international. And from what I can see, there is almost nobody pushing back on this. There are a few politicians here and there who are making noise, but when was the last time that you saw an actual news report pushing back against this new evil monetary system? Please, in the comment section below, I'd be interested. Have you heard any reports of people pushing back in a serious way against these CBDCs? Now, in America, our nickname for our CBDC is going to be the Fed coin. In Britain, for example, it's going to be the Britcoin. They have cute little nicknames for these central bank digital currencies. But this whole movement toward CBDCs is more than just a movement toward a cashless society to force us away from cash. The more insidious part of this is the nature in which this is going to be implemented, where individuals, every one of us, is going to be completely dependent on the state for every aspect of our lives. So one new term you're going to hear is going to be the token economy, otherwise known as tokenomics. So remember that term, tokenomics, because it will become a central part of all of our lives. What that term means is all of your money is going to be represented in the form of a token. And all of these tokens are going to be housed inside of computers owned by the government. And it's going to be sit on what's referred to as a unified ledger. So there's the second term for you. First is tokenomics, now the unified ledger. So your tokens won't sit in your own bank account or in your wallet or in your desk drawer. They'll be sitting on this unified ledger. And every central bank will have their own unified ledger. But it doesn't end there. Every time that you use your tokens to purchase a car, a house, shares in the stock market, all of those assets are also going to be tokenized, and they will sit on what's called a unified register. That's the third term that I wanted to talk about in this video. So you have tokenomics, a unified ledger, and a unified register. So your assets would sit on a unified register with your name and personal information attached to that asset. And this is how they force you onto the system. So to make sure that you don't bypass the system, they will make sure that you will not own that asset unless your name and personal information is attached to that personal asset, because all assets will be tokenized. Every asset will have to be tokenized and rest somewhere in the register. Now, this process will be very easy for the government because their work is already mostly done. Because basically, all property is already registered with the government, and they can just dump that information inside the unified register. And that also includes all of your banking information, all of your car registration information, all of your health records. All that information could easily be dumped into the government's unified register. And what they could do is pass a law so that every time that you do happen to use cash for a transaction, that you have to identify yourself. And what they'll do is they will scan, every banknote has its own number on it, right? They'll scan it in and they'll identify that you used that cash for that transaction. Okay, and this is where it starts to become really insidious. So the Bank of International Settlements, the BIS, that's known as the central bank to central banks, right? And they've already developed their own Unicoin. And it's meant to sit at the top of the pyramid. So every country will have its own central bank digital currency, and the BIS coin will sit at the very top. And the BIS is going to allow all the central bank's information to be shared amongst each other. So not only do you have to worry about our own personal privacy in regards to our own government, we have to worry about our personal information being dispersed around the world. Now, of course, our government assures us that our information is safe. I mean, after all, it is the government. So what could possibly go wrong? Now, some of you are going to say, I'm going to resist. There's no way I'm going to allow myself to put inside this matrix. But if you ever want to own anything, if you ever want to own a car or real estate or stocks and bonds or any other kind of investment, if you want to buy groceries, you're going to have to be in the system. I mean, do you want to travel? Do you want to buy a plane ticket and make a hotel reservation? Guess what? You're going to need to be in this new system. Now, of course, most people are going to just acquiesce to this out of convenience, because if you want to travel, if you want to buy that plane ticket, you want to buy that car, that house, whatever, this system is going to make it really convenient, or so they tell us. And that is the way they're going to sell this to us. Our lives are going to be so much easier. All you have to do is forego any semblance of privacy. And again, remember, this is going to be completely secure. You're completely safe because, after all, the government is in control. What could possibly go wrong? Anyway, so let's leave it there. So those are three new terms that you have to start becoming familiar with: the unified ledger, the unified register, and tokenomics. That is going to be our new monetary system. And it's about more than just money. It's about complete and utter control. And the people who are going to be controlling your lives are not good people. And that's my little report for the day. Edward Anderson, signing out.
Well, Ed, that was a very dystopian view of the future, man. It all sounds very convenient. It all sounds very useful and very good. But the thing that I'm kind of missing in there is how do the various countries all integrate with each other? Because the thing that came to my mind as you were talking about that was the foreign exchange market and the hundreds of billions of dollars that are transacted on a daily basis with foreign exchange. It's going to take a long time to roll something like this out, isn't it?
No, actually not, because they've been working on exactly that issue. So they've been working behind the scenes in stages to develop these CBDCs. And in the final stage, which I did do a video on my other channel a few months ago, they had spent 12 weeks doing a test run, marrying up these two systems between European central banks and ours to see whether they'd be able to read each other's whatever, right? So they worked all that out. All that's worked out.
So how long do you think this is going to be before something like this rolls out?
Well, if I had to guess, I think countries, they're going to roll them out, at their own pace, each individual country, because they all have their own little issues related to the adoption by societies, because this is not a popular item when people learn about it. There was a survey done that said only about 49% of the public even know about these things at all. And of those 49%, only 16% were in favor of it. So it's widely unpopular. So that is why you don't hear a whole lot of publicity. You don't hear a big push by the government. You don't see, ads on TV promoting the, because they know this is an unpopular item. So they're going to have to do ways to coerce people into it. And they're going to have to do ways to kind of ease people into it. And I promise you, there is going to be some kind of incentive program where there's going to be a big giveaway. Where, hey, we'll give you $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, a big number, right? That's going to. Yeah. All you have to do is go online to the Federal Reserve and open an account at the Federal Reserve, and boom. So that's going to be their first big carrot, right? But then you have the sticks, where they, well, listen, you want to buy that house? Well, that house is tokenized. It's on the registry. So it's tokenized, which means if you want to own it, you have to buy it through the system. So that's the stick part, right? They're going to force us into the system.
So humor me here for a second. We already live in a carrot and stick society where I have the opportunity to go out and earn as much money as I want. I have an unlimited earning potential right now, and I have an unlimited asset acquisition potential right now as well. It just all depends on how clever I am and how much the products and services that I sell, people want them. If people want a lot of them, I'll be very successful. If people don't want them, then I won't be successful. It's a meritocracy, right? That's how commerce works, and that's how capitalism works. But equally, if I go out and I drive up the street here where it's a 50-kilometer-an-hour zone, and I drive up the street at 150 kilometers an hour, and I do that every day, and the cops figure out who I am, and they wait at the end of the street for me, that's the stick. They're going to lock me up. So we already live in a carrot and stick society. So that's what I'm saying. Humor me here for a second. Why is it any different once we move to a slightly different financial system? Because it's still a fiat system. It's still fiat currency. It's not backed by anything. It's not backed by gold or commodities or iron ore in Australia or some other natural gas or a commodity like that. It's a fiat system, but there's a very big scary stick that's there. But if I do the wrong thing and I've got a criminal record, before I go overseas and I apply for a visa to go to New Zealand or the United States or the UK or something like that, one of the questions they're asking me is, do you have a criminal record? Yes, I do. What did you get pulled up for? Drink driving. Okay, cool, you're all right. What did you get pulled up for? Domestic violence. You can't come here. No. So isn't it the same thing already anyway? If you're doing the wrong thing in society, you're going to get collared by the cops and you're going to get a record, you're going to get in trouble, you commit a crime, you commit a felony, whatever the case may be, then you're limited anyway in our social credit system. So I'm not trying to be an advocate for this. I'm just trying to play this out to see what the real difference actually could be. Is it that much different?
Yes, it's quite a bit different. There are a couple of very key differences. Now, with fiat currency, with my dollar bills in my wallet, I can do transactions anonymously, right?
That's the first one.
That's the first, anonymity. That's a big one for people who are freedom seekers, people who are libertarian, people who enjoy their personal freedoms. You don't want the government knowing everything you do in your life. If you want to buy a pack of cigarettes, if you want to buy a bottle of booze, if you want to buy a hamburger, you want to be able to do it without thinking that somebody is going to give you, punish you for it. So, and that leads us to the second issue is once they have you in this kind of a system, they can control your life any way they want, depending on who is in power. And this could change from administration to administration, right? Somewhere along the line, someone is going to decide that it's not good for you. It's not good for society to be driving a gas-guzzling car. It's not good for you to eat a steak that's not made out of bugs. It's not good. It's not good. It's not good, right? You have people determining what you can spend your money on, because they will control it with these tokens. And if you do, you will be punished. You have no way of avoiding it. guilt before innocence scenario where in America you're supposed to be innocent.
Yeah, the other way around. Yeah.
Right?
Well, what about this for that on that point? So you're talking anonymity. Yeah, I agree completely because cash is anonymous. Then that's true. But then control as well. I'm not convinced that they'll control you like that. They may, and it has the capability. Let me give you an example. So before I started here, I was just looking at Twitter, as I do first thing in the morning, just catching up and reading my tweets and stuff like that and other people's. And one of the things that I saw, which was pretty interesting, was be careful of buying meat with no bones. I was in the shop, I was in Whole Foods or wherever it was, and it had ground beef on one side, and then it had beef on the other side. And it said, grass-fed ground beef, $10, and it's the real deal, right? That's a cow. And the other side is the fake one, is the one that's made in a factory. But the two things are put together, and they look exactly the same. And the difference is the fake one was a little bit cheaper. And when you stand there as a consumer, you look at it and you go, oh, I'm looking for some ground beef. I'm going to make some spaghetti bolognese or whatever I'm going to make. I'm going to make some hamburgers. I look and I go, well, that's like $12 and that one's like $6. I'll buy the $6 one. But you don't realize that you're actually buying it. So there's a lot of insidious things that go on in our society. And, if you tried to do that with if you were just a normal company, a normal business trying to do something to get your products into a supermarket, you'd be collared for misleading consumers if you did something like that, particularly if you're putting it right next to the other product. But the authorities, as you say, are allowing these things to happen. And I think it would be more insidious in society where they're not so much actually putting it in your face, but they're taking away these things without you realizing, and they're not giving you any other options. So while we were all distracted last week, they passed legislation in the US saying that you're allowed to have fake chicken and you're allowed to have fake beef in the supermarket, and you're scratching your head going, so what? Well, the so what part of it is that they're putting it right next to the real chicken and the real beef, and consumers are easily misled by marketing. They don't realize what's going on. They buy it and they go, oh, that's all right. Next time they go there, they buy it. And then all of a sudden there's less and less of the real stuff in there. And here in Australia, they were talking about, I can buy a box of eggs for like $4 or $5. Now they're talking about a box of eggs going to be like $15. So they're taking away your ability to do that, and they're taking away your incentive to do that. So if they came out with, and I'm not saying that they have or they will, but if they came out with some other fictitious egg-related product, and real eggs are $15, but this fake egg product over here is like $4, which one would I buy? Well, if I want to eat eggs, I'm going to buy the $4 one because I can't afford to buy the $15 one. That's luxury. That's rich people food over there. And I think it's very insidious how this actually goes on. And it's a little bit like what they did in COVID. You need to wear a mask. Now you can't go out. Now, if you're not vaxxed, you can't go into that place. They take away your rights a little bit at a time, just a tiny bit at a time. And you're giving up. Okay, cool, I'll do that. Okay, cool, that's what they want me to do. All right, they know better than me. You're just giving away these rights a little bit at a time like that. So I think it's part what you were saying. It's very, very, very evil and very, very controlling. But I think it's also in society is very insidious. And those two things are going hand in hand.
Yeah, and just like you said, to your point, all they have to do, instead of blatantly saying, well, we're not going to outlaw actual steaks, but what we're going to do is we're going to reduce people's options. This is the way we're going to, and slowly reduce their options until it's normal for them to buy that fake stuff. And
I'm not going to outlaw a petrol car or an electric car, but if you want a new car, then I'm going to make it so difficult for you to purchase that, and make it so expensive for you to purchase that you'll just go, you know what, the ride-sharing things around here are actually pretty good. Why would I bother owning a car when I could just get the ride-share, man? It's just easier. And then you go, oh, I want to buy a house for my family. I want to live by the sea. I want to do whatever. And then you go, oh, man, they're making it so cheap. Why don't you just rent there, man? The rent is actually like $300 a week. It's so cheap. It's cheaper than a mortgage. Why would I bother? That's where they're moving to us. That's where they're moving towards.
And here is a mind bender aspect of all this for you. So hear me out on this one. It's going to sound a little bit conspiracy. It's going to sound a little nutty, but kind of follow along with me here. Okay. When everything is taken, when they have all your information on file, they know what kind of car you drive. They know what kind of healthcare you're on, and your car is going to be able to be monitored. So if you're speeding, they won't need traffic cops anymore to stop people for speeding, because they're going to be able to track how much you're speeding. They'll track you, and you're going to get tickets in the mail saying you owe us $400 because you went this fast for 3 minutes, on that, and we knew about it. And when you combine that with artificial intelligence that's coming,
That's how they'll do it. Because you think about it, they could do all of that already now, but we just don't have the computing horsepower. But we're on the verge of quantum computing, and the AI revolution is here. So yeah, you're quite right. That would be like a small problem for the algorithm to solve. They could solve those problems really quickly.
Now, let's take it to the next step. Okay, and this is where it gets really kind of interesting. Okay, so they can basically tokenize crimes, right? Because they know what's illegal. They know that white powder that people put in their nose for fun is illegal. They know that playing with the wrong person at a certain age is wrong. And so it is going to become harder and harder to be a criminal in that sense, right? So what I think is going to happen here is during all of this, there is going to be a big push to normalize the activity that the elites enjoy. Because the elites, they're not going to give up their white powder. They're not going to give up their illicit activities. They're going to continue to enjoy that stuff. They don't want to alter their lifestyle. So you're going to see legislation to say that it's okay to use that white powder. It's okay to have twerking in kindergarten class with little children. It's okay for a minor attractive person to be who he is, to live his life. So we'll decriminalize that. So it could have that effect where we could see a series of changes in our society to normalize this bad behavior that the elites want to keep doing. And of course, in order for them to keep doing them, they're going to want to pass laws so they're okay. I don't know, maybe that's a stretch too far, but I can see that happening. We're already kind of seeing that happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
The term minor attractive person is already being normalized.
Yeah, you're bang on. And, I want to close out with this point, Ed, is that this will change life as you know it. You think life is crazy and chaotic now. They're trying to introduce these types of things into our societies. It's going to create even more chaos, and it's going to change everything. And, I remember when COVID kicked off, I remember saying to my missus, I think I've said this to you before, I remember kind of elbowing her. And when I realized that I'd been psyoped, because at first I thought it was all real, right? And I was like complying and doing the right things. And then I was like, hold it, whoa, boy, hold it. And I realized I'd been psyoped and I'd been drawn all the way into it. And I remember elbowing my missus saying, you know what, honey, you're probably never, ever going to go overseas ever again. And she's like, what? And I said, I could be wrong, but they're going to make it so difficult. They're going to change the conditions for that. And here we are in 2023, where they're now saying that you'll only get to go overseas on an international flight once every 3 years. Yeah. And you only get to do this, and you only get to do that. And putting all rules around some carbon bullshit that's not even real. It's just fake. It's just a way of controlling you and a way of scaring you. But I remember also saying to her in that same conversation that everything that you had before this day, after this is rolling out, is the best of humanity. We were so fortunate to live through those times. And as we move forward into this dystopian future that we're all now in, we're going to look back at those times pre-2020 and think, man, that life was so good back then. There was so much wealth, so much opportunity, so much love, so much kindness, and such an incredible society. And we've moved to a place of total degeneracy and total destruction. And in my view, we've moved to a place of slavery. And I've got some more to say in another segment about that. But when you're told that your eyes no longer work and you see a man, but they tell you that that's a woman, or you see a woman and they tell you that that's a man, and they say that you're wrong and your eyes don't work and you have to accept that, then what they're saying to you is that you're now a slave. And you must stand up for yourself. You must fight back in every way that you can. Don't buy that bug-filled protein garbage that they make in a factory that's going to give you cancer. It's going to make you sick. Don't buy into climate change. It's not real. It's fake. Don't buy into any medical procedure that they're telling you to do. And the way that I look at it, Ed, let's close out with this thought, man, is that whenever there's an existential crisis, it seems to be a global crisis. But the reality is, in your life as an individual, you may have had an existential crisis as a person, maybe once or twice in your life. Maybe a loved one passed away, maybe you got sick, maybe somebody you know got sick. There's only existential crises that happen periodically throughout your life. The vast majority of your life is actually okay. It's peaceful, it's in security. It might be a little bit of a struggle here and there, but you can fight your way out of it because that's what you're here to do. But the reality is there is no existential crisis about the climate. There isn't one about energy. There isn't one about fossil fuels. There isn't one about some hypothetical disease that's going to wipe out the world's population. All of it is fake in an effort to control you. And because everybody's bought into all of this existential garbage and this bullshit that's going out there, they're just encroaching and stealing a little bit more of your rights away. A little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Anyway, that's my views. Have you got any final thoughts before we close it out?
No, well said.
Well said. All right. Thanks very much for joining us, folks. I hope you like the new format. We'll see you in the next one. We've got another video coming up right here.